I've been at LK for a little over 10 years. I am the group product manager for commercial drinking water. So all of the commercial drinking water products fall under me in some way, shape, or form. We're going to talk a little bit today about how to work on these, some tools and some resources. Bill told me not to give you any marketing stuff. He said leave all the marketing stuff out. They just want to know how to work on this, but that's my job. So I'll try to make it quick and painless. So we'll go through an introduction. We'll do a category review just to look and see what we offer. You probably know all that, so we'll go through it quick. We'll talk about tools and resources and then service and care. So LK actually has two brands. So we have LK and we also have Halsey Taylor. And here's how that came to be. So in 1920, LK started. And then in 1969 was the first time that we had a refrigerated water cooler. And then fast forward a little bit to 1989, and we purchased a factory in Savannah, Illinois, which is right out in the Mississippi River. And then 1991 is when we acquired Halsey Taylor. Halsey Taylor actually started in 1912, so they're a little bit older than LK. And then 2022 is when we did the merger with Zurn. We have two manufacturing facilities. Like I said, we've got Savannah here right on the Mississippi River, and then we've got Lanark, which is about 20 miles to the east. Both of those are about 160,000 square feet. We did our 1 millionth cooler in '85, our 5 millionth cooler in 2015, 6 millionth in 2018, 7 millionth in 2020, 8 millionth in 21. Starting to see a pattern here. And then we did our 1 millionth bottle filler in 2021. I reached out to the guys. I think we probably should have hit our 9 millionth cooler and 2 millionth bottle filler by now, but they didn't get back to me. Should happen this year though. We split our products into four main categories: coolers, fountains, chillers, and bottle fillers. Basically anything that's got a bottle filler on it, we call a bottle filler. So whether it's an in-wall, whether it's an on-wall, whatever it is, we still call it a bottle filler, and we keep it a little bit separate. Obviously the chillers are remote chillers, and the fountains are not cooled, and the coolers are cooled. So here's a little sampling of what we've got. We've got the standard wall mount, the high efficiencies, vandal resistance, architecturals. Still got some legacy products, and then our outdoor bottle fillers. I'm not going to read all these to you, but you can see we've got a pretty good offering here, going everything from retrofit kits, on-wall, floor standing, architectural, surface mount, refrigerated surface mount, and outdoor. Now we've got two different kinds of bottle fillers, and you've probably got them here. So we've got the original design, which we call the K units, because part number ends in K. They come in two boxes. The filter status is on the left and the bottle counter is on the right on that upper panel. The filter reset button is in the tower. And then our enhanced design, which we call the P units, because they end in P, they come in one box, just like this one did today. Centralized user interface right here, so when you're using it, you can stare right at it. Filter auto reset, which is a big deal because now you no longer have to take that tower off the wall to hit a button. It automatically resets. Energy saving setting, which not a lot of people use, but you can. And then the alcove light. Here's where we sit in the wall hung ADA world. So you can see Murdoch's got a nice little offering there. Hawes has one. Oasis has a couple. And then we've got several. So in 8 gallon per hour, we've got both standard and high efficiency. We've got enhanced series with the auto filter reset. We've got the light touch solenoid and a mechanical option, depending on which one you want. The less expensive VRC green is also high efficiency. So if you're looking for a VRC product, but the full-on outdoor rated VRC is a little too pricey, you can go with the VRC green and still get a much better product than you get anywhere else. The VRC series is outdoor rated and it's tested by UL Outdoors. I don't think anybody else's is. Superior reliability, industry refrigeration experts, and we are the only ones that are built in the USA. I'm not going to go through all these, but I figured you might run across places where you could use these. These are splash guards and wall panels. We released some of these in the last few years. So if you need to do some wall work and you need to cover up whatever you did because you're not going to do all the masonry to redo the wall, we do have panels that go behind the products to cover that up. If you've got the old style plastic bottle rest, which is the original ones we came out with back in 2010, and you want to upgrade to the stainless steel basin, we have kits to do that, so you don't have to replace the whole thing. All you got to do is replace the basin, and there's a gasket adapter. Outdoor. We are the only ones that are in stainless 316. So obviously it's great in corrosive environments. It's now available in 4 color options. Everything's vandal resistant on it. Best in class construction, built in the USA. So why 316? This is an actual test that was done on the coast. You can see on that first one, that is a painted carbon steel after 12 years, and it's pretty much rusted through. That second one, the picture doesn't do it justice, but that is a galvanized plate. And you can't really tell from the picture, but that's got that zinc white rust on it. So if you were to rub your finger on that, it'd come off all white. That's after 40 years. This is 304 stainless. After 59 years, starting to get kind of rusty. 316 stainless after 59 years, looks like the day it went in. And this is like 100 feet from the coast. So what else is good about the LK Outdoors? Well, we standardized on the sealed and freeze-resistant valves. So if you put in a freeze-resistant valve, you put the valve down below the frost line. Our competitors offer, some of them offer sealed as an option. I think some of them don't offer it at all. Ours are standard sealed. And really, that's what you should be doing anyway, because that keeps any groundwater from contaminating the potable water source. So that makes sure that none of this groundwater will ever get back into the potable water. We also rolled out a 5-year warranty on our outdoor. It's the longest in the field. So this is how we stack up. So base material, MDF is carbon steel, Murdoch is 304, we're 316. Freeze resistance, non-sealed, non-sealed, and sealed. And warranty, 1 year, 1 year, and 5 years. So that was all of the marketing stuff. Was that pretty painless? All right.
That 5 years, that's over everything, and that's just compressor.
So tools and resources. How do you use the website? This search, unfortunately, does not search for everything. It only searches for products. If you go in here, you can get to price guides, advertising sell sheets, that kind of stuff. The contact us gets you into the warranty, tech service, customer care, etc. And there is a learning center in there. So product pages, you get to up there at the top. You can go into project types. So if you've got something that you're working on, which is a project type, you can go in there and get some suggestions for the kind of things that should go in there. Tech, frequently asked questions, etc. is under support. And there's some learning and inspiration under resources. Down here, I don't know if you guys care about the BIM files. That's mostly for the architects. But the spec sheets, installation instructions, all of that is down here under downloads. And then there's a summary of specifications down here also that'll just show it on the screen. So LK part numbers. If you go out there under the buying guides, there is a drinking water model number matrix, and you go into that file, it will tell you everything that you want to know about LK part numbers. But I'll give you the cheat sheet here. Filtered water coolers and bottle fillers begin with an L. Models ending in K indicate a kit or a pick-to-order item. That means it comes in multiple boxes. A standard TL is left, high, right, low. TLR are reverses. So those are left, low, right, high. In the EZ line, which is that guy right there, they're versatile, so there are no reverses. You can mount it either way. G or GRN indicates a green, high efficiency. And F indicates that there's a glass fill, it's prep for a glass filler. We see fewer and fewer of those all the time. Since bottle fillers started taking over, very few people order glass fillers anymore. Service and care. Cleaning. Now, why would there be acids in there or chlorides in there? Well, sanitizers, when people want to sanitize, what's the first thing they grab? Bleach. Bleach is chlorine. So no chlorides, bleach, hydrogen peroxide is the best. So we have a guide out there, this is copied from our website, of what you should do for sanitizing. And basically, you can use this Virox Technologies, the Clorox Commercial Solutions Hydrogen Peroxide Cleaner, and Clorox Healthcare Hydrogen Peroxide Cleaner. If you get any chlorides on there, wipe it off with a damp cloth immediately. In fact, after you get done sanitizing, read the directions, and it's going to have a minimum contact time in there. After that minimum contact time is done, wipe it off. Don't let it sit there, because it will cause that stainless to rust. So what about the acids? Well, I don't know if your water's hard down here or not, but anything that is designed to take calcium off, you know, the good old CLR, that's an acid. And you put it on stainless, and that stainless will rust. So I'm not saying don't use it, because if you get hard water deposits, you got to get it off. I would recommend starting out a little easy on it. Go with a mix of like white vinegar and water. If that doesn't do it for you, move up to the Barkeeper's Friend, which is an acid also, as the vinegar is. And if that doesn't do it, then go ahead and use your stainless steel cleaner to get the calcium and rust off. But when you do it, as soon as you are done, rinse it. Rinse it, wipe it off, get it out of every nook and cranny, because that acid will cause it to rust. So how do you know what you got? Data labels. So we've got models, we've got serial numbers, and we've got part numbers. We aren't real consistent on what we call a model and a part number. So you're going to see them move around a little bit when you look at these data labels. But when you call into tech service, make sure you got all three of those. The key thing here is we need to know what the model is, and that 1E, that's the revision of it. So that's how we know which one you got. The serial number, those first four numbers, that's a date code. So that particular one, 1311, means that it was built in November of 2013. That's how we know how old it is and whether it's still in warranty or not. If you see it starting with a 4, so if it was 4311, now you're thinking, well, this wasn't built in 1943. You're right. When we started producing products in Lanark, we changed that first digit to a 4 so we could tell where it was built. So 43 is actually 2023, but it was built in Lanark. Red flashing lights, filter will not reset. Your problem. Make sure the red stop label is at the back of the filter and facing the NFC board. Where was that filter? So when you see this that says stop, if you can read this, you have it in backwards, that means it's in backwards. So you want it in like this so you can't see that red sticker. That still isn't a guarantee that everything's going to work right, but at least you know you got it in right. Make sure the NFC harness is plugged into that board that's back there. They test them at the factory, 100%, before they go out the door. But a lot of times in shipping, those will wiggle loose. Or when somebody's hanging one of these on the wall, they'll knock it loose. So make sure that's plugged in. On a 2-level unit, it's not plugged in production because we have an extension cord that goes from the right side to the left side. So you got to make sure that's plugged in when they install it. And then always try another filter. Especially if you've got a filter that you know works in one. Take it out of that one, put it in this one, and see if it works in this one. That way you'll know whether you got a bum filter or not. Sometimes the tags that they read on here, sometimes they don't get written quite properly. And usually, since they write them as they're coming off a machine, you'll get a batch of them that are bad. And we don't test these because we don't want to start counting on your filters before you get them. So you might get a bad one. If you do, just call tech service, tell them you got a bad one, they'll replace it. Fan or compressor will not turn off. Try adjusting the thermostat to see if that'll shut it off counterclockwise. Is the fan spinning freely? So you can usually tell if the fan is hitting something. It'll make a racket. If the fan gets jammed up and it's not spinning, then it can't cool down the compressor enough and the condenser enough, and the compressor will continue to run because it's trying to chill, but it can't because the condenser isn't taking the heat out. So that could be the fault of the fan not spinning. Determine if the compressor is getting hot to the touch or if it's room temperature. If it's getting hot to the touch, it's possible there's a refrigeration leak. Because if that compressor runs, but it's not pumping refrigerant, or if it's not pumping enough, it's not going to get to that set point and it's just going to continue to run. And then replace the cold control or the thermostat. Loud knocking sound. First off, figure out if it's coming from the fan or the compressor. If it's the compressor, most likely it's the internal mounts, and this requires a compressor replacement. This you'll typically find shortly after install, and usually that's because people were not very gentle with the unit when they were shipping it. Sometimes it can be when you're transporting it around the grounds. So if you take a unit out of stock, throw it in the back of a pickup truck, bounce over a couple curbs, you could break the mounts inside the compressor. The fan, there's a lot of stuff in there. If you've looked inside of these cabinets, you know that there's not a lot of room left over. So tubing, wiring, the fan shroud, all of those things could come out of position and start to obstruct the fan. Now what do you do there? Well, you unplug it so the fan doesn't take your fingers off, and then you just bend the stuff out of the way. No water dispensing from the bottle filler. So check to see if the light up here on the K model and the light down here and on the bottle counter on the P model get brighter when you put your... If it does, you know the sensor's working. And it's trying to make water come out. But if you don't hear that click, then your solenoid valve is probably bad or not plugged in.
How about just unplugging it and replugging it? Sometimes that works too,
Uh, Typically not. So a few years back, I gotta think how long, 4 years, 5 years? These numbers up here used to go a little goofy, and then you'd have to unplug it and replug it back in. So when you plug in the old K models, if it says BF12 when it's coming up, that is the latest firmware. So that's bottle filler version 12 firmware. If it comes up BF11, sometimes you'll get some goofy characters in here, and if you unplug it and replug it back in, it comes back. What that is everything works fine, but the driver chip for that display gets messed up. Now the BF12, all it does is it constantly resets that driver chip, so if it does get messed up, you don't even notice it. All right, regulators and strainers. When do you have to service them? You don't. Back a few years, again, 5, 6 years ago, we were having problems with regulator diaphragms. And it was a vendor problem. That got taken care of. Our strainers, the failure rate is 0.004%. That's 4 out of every 100,000. Our failure rate on valves and regulators is 0.074%. That's 7 out of every 10,000. So these days, you should not have to worry about either of those. So the easiest service you got to do is a service you never have to do. So what do you do for PM? This is a 6-month routine maintenance checklist. You can look at this and say, that's a long list, we never do that. Nobody does. But it's a good list to look at and see what kind of things you can think about doing on a periodic basis. So clean the entire unit, clean the condenser and louvers. If you clean the condenser, you're going to save energy. The compressor is going to work a lot easier because it doesn't have to work as hard, and the unit's going to last longer. So all you got to do is get in there with a vacuum or even an air hose, spray it out, get the dust out of the condenser, and that'll, just like you're supposed to do with your refrigerator at home that nobody ever does. Change the filter if it's a filtered unit. Check the entire unit for leaks. Clean the bubbler orifice if scaly. So you guys nodded your head when I said, did you have hard water? So the 2 places that hard water show up, 3. The 2 places that it'll usually show up is on the bubbler orifice, that nozzle. You can clean that. Honestly, if I was you, I'd just buy a new one because it just threads in. Take the old one out, put the new one in. That way you don't have to worry about cleaning it. The bottle filler, what we call the aerator, which is really the laminar flow device in there, that'll get clogged up with scale too. And you'll start seeing the bottle filler stream going off at funny angles and that kind of stuff. Those also you can replace. So we'll send you out a kit with a tool to unscrew that and screw a new one in, and that'll take care of that. The 3rd place that occasionally you run into scale problems is in the regulator. If you get scale building up on the diaphragm, it could cause it to weep a little bit and dribble out. Check the bubbler stream height. Adjust if necessary. How high is that bubbler stream height supposed to be? ADA says 4 inches. So if it's just coming out and people are having to put their mouth over the bubbler to get a drink, then that's not meeting ADA. So that's when you adjust the regulator. On these products, it's very easy to do. A couple years back, we moved the regulator. It is now behind this door. All you got to do is open that door up, and you can adjust the regulator. Check to ensure the refrigeration system cycles properly. You don't want it short cycling, and you don't want it running continuously. If it runs continuously, you are at risk of the system freezing up, and if it freezes up, you are at risk of something bursting and getting a leak. So you don't want that. Test the water temperature. Check to see that the fan spins freely. We talked about that. Test activation of the bottle filler. We talked about that. Test 20-second timeout of the bottle filler. Very rarely does that mess up. I would say extremely rarely, but still test it and make sure that when you hold your hand in front of that sensor, that it times out after 20 seconds. Make sure the bottle filler water flow is laminar clean, repair or replace nozzle if necessary. That's what we talked about, replacing that aerator. 3-year routine maintenance checklist. I put this in here. A lot of the previous stuff, right? Check the entire unit for leaks, clean and replace bubbler orifice, clean and replace the aerator. Check to ensure the refrigeration system cycles properly. Check that the compressor and fan turn on and shut down. Test water temperature. This is probably the key one that nobody does, is replace that cold control thermostat. All that is it's a remote bulb freeze switch, is what it is, with dry contacts. And you know what happens with dry contacts after they switch a bunch. They start to arc, and sooner or later they're going to weld together. It is a wear item. So rather than waiting for that thing to fail, you're better off replacing it every 3 to 5 years. So what is needed before contacting technical service? We already went through this on the data labels. Serial number, model number, complete customer information, facility name, full address, and the contact name and number. So every time that we log in a call to tech service, it's got to be against the serial number of the product. And every time that we do anything under warranty or service, it gets related back to the original PO. So it's very important that we get that serial number, not only so we know what version it is we're talking about, but so that we can log it in, and then in the future we can look and see what all has happened with that particular product. That's that. Now, what is your biggest complaint about bottle fillers? Take these screws out, what's the first thing you do? You drop them on the floor and they roll away somewhere and you never see them again. And when you want to put this lower wrapper back on, how easy is it to find those holes for those screws? Pretty much impossible. So, we have recently released something that we think will help you out. Now, you're all wearing your safety shirts, so ignore the fact that I don't have gloves on. This is our new lower wrapper with filter access. So if you put one of these on, first thing you'll notice is we've got slots down here instead of holes. And we also include these screws with the big flanges on them. The reason we do that is you will cuss and swear to find those holes one more time. But after that one time, if you need to take this wrapper off, you'll never have to worry about it again, because you can just slide it out without taking the screws all the way out. I think we got our holes in the wrong spot.
Of course you could.
Dude, you got a question in the room?
What's that?
You got a question for you.
Yep.
On the filter, why couldn't it be possible that to take the filter out and mount it up on the bottom and less screw than we would have to do?
You can do that. We have a filter relocation kit that has a cover that goes over it with slots in it like that. So all you got to do is take the cover off and you can change it underneath. But what you need to pay attention to is which unit you do it on. Because if you do it on the lower unit, that might not have enough toe clearance for ADA. If it's a bi-level, you do it on the high side, no problems. If it's a single and it's on the lower unit, you need to make sure that there's still enough toe clearance there so when an inspector comes in, they don't write you up. So what is the other thing that is difficult about putting these wrappers on? It's getting it to tuck in here, right? Yep. So I am going to attempt to do that now. And we'll see if I'm able to. Good news is, once you get this on and get it to tuck in, unless you need to do service on the inside of here, you don't need to take this off to change the filter anymore. I now need a volunteer from the audience.
Hey, Lee.
And the reason I need a volunteer is because I'm going to hold this up while you take that driver and take this side panel off. It's got pin torques in it. So going forward, these will be captive screws so you don't drop them. This was a fast to market version, so we'll be making incremental improvements as we go. Now you can take this off. The nice thing about this is it's got these pilot studs in the back. So when you go to put that back on, they go in the holes and it'll hang there so you can put the screws in. You don't need 3 arms to put it on anymore.
That's the only reason for making that shorter filter was to use access for it?
No. So the shorter filter, the reason for that is we don't need the bigger filter anymore. So the 12-inch filter was an older technology. We were able to get the exact same performance into the shorter 9.5-inch filter. Now we will be coming out with other filters that have additional filtration type stuff. So we want to protect that space though for the 12-inch filter, because some of those will still have to go back to 12-inch. So when you get these from the factory, they will come with the 12-inch filter, and then whenever you get a replacement filter, it'll be the shorter one. So,
One thing about those short ones is the nipple inside wiggles. It's got a ball, moves around, but if you don't hit it just right,
I never noticed that.
you got it.
So, now that we can get in the side, you can change the filter, hang this on, and I'm not going to embarrass myself by showing you how fast it can be done because I'm not good at it. But this basically cut the time to change a filter in half. So ideally, if everything went right, you could change a filter in about 6 minutes before. This, a lot easier because everything lines itself up, takes about 3 minutes. We are working on getting that even faster.
Locate them at the bottom, call it quit.
What's that?
Locate them at the bottom.
You can mount them on the bottom. We do that at that relocation kit.
I do it sometimes, Kenny Pitts kid. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I don't think we need to screw this back on. Everybody knows how screws go in, right? So, that's what I got for you. Any questions?
Are the new water fountains going to come with that access door, or do you have to convert them?
No. So for right now, this is going to be a accessory and a retrofit. We are working on a better solution. This was quick to market. So we wanted to get that out there so people could start using this right away. We are working on a better solution that will be factory installed.
How about the stainless pans they use to eliminate the rubber mats from the earlier models?
Yep. Let me back up to that.
Right.
Yes.
You got a lot of those. You got a lot of those.
Yeah, so we don't even stock those rubber mats anymore.
What do we do?
Y'all don't have any on hand that were left behind?
So you got these out there, they've got mold underneath them, they've got hard water deposits all over them. These kits, for these specific units, you get a new basin and you get an adapter gasket there. You take that basin and that off, you put this on, and you've got the new style.
But it kind of changes your bolt pattern from the rubber mat a little bit, doesn't it? I think when we tried to use that pan before, I think it changed the bolt pattern from the top part.
I don't think it does. It's the same tower, and this isn't the standard gasket. This is a special adapter, so you can adapt these old towers to the new basin.
I'm gonna get that warm in the face.
It did once or twice. It was a little something. It's been a while.
I won't lie to you, getting those gaskets in the right spot isn't the easiest thing in the world, especially if you forget to put that plate on the back that holds it in place, kind of holds it in place. But we're looking at redoing the gasket too.
Do y'all have any left over? The gaskets, rubber gaskets?
Why, you want extras?
Yeah. Warehouse?
I'm sure we could sell you some.
Well, answer.
Ask.
Sometimes you sometimes if you got them rubber mat like he said, it'll be a lot, if they up in good shape, there'll be a lot more ease for us to change them rubber mats out than to change that whole plate out. If we get some.
We don't even have these anymore.
No, I'm asking if you have any on hand.
No, we ran out years ago.
Really?
Yep.
Did they have any in China?
Those were actually made in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. So they did not come from China.
China sell your knockoff. Yeah.
I just think y'all really need to go to the new bases. That's nasty. I mean,
Yeah.
We've been going to the new basin, but it's just,
They're hard to clean too.
some units, when you go to put them on, although they say it's fit, it is difficult to put on. Sometimes something don't line up, I don't know if it's a hitch punch or something. Cause that rubber just sits in that little guide and just slides down on top of it, so.
Yeah, that gasket is not the easiest thing to get in place, but once it's there, it's there. Usually what you run into with these, if anything, is if the cold control in here is not routed properly, the drain line from here over to the main drain will hit that cold control or the top of the evaporator tank, and things will start to interfere there.
So that might be an issue with them. But putting the rubber one on wasn't no problem. We had ordered some rubber ones, or we'll take them off, we'll soak them in some kind of treatment and get the stuff off of them and put them back. But they still don't look as presentable as you do that also.
Roughly, how much more is that pan versus the whole unit?
You know,
This versus a whole new,
The pan,
Yeah.
yeah, the replacement pan.
well, it's just the price of a basin. I don't know what the price is, but
'Cause I have a couple I need to do now.
15% of the cost.
Replace the whole unit versus changing that pan out.
it's probably easier. It's a whole lot cheaper to swap these out.
about $148.
Well, I will say it's a whole lot cheaper in parts. It might end up costing you more in labor, so you might be better off just replacing everything.
and if it's real old,
We don't worry about that.
you might want to just get over it.
Yeah, and my rule of thumb there is you've got
Still working good. It's
13
been
years
cold
old.
and chilling and everything.
so that's 13 years old. So as long as nothing goes wrong, you're fine. But you are one refrigeration repair away from being able to afford putting a brand new one in there.
And the usage of those is unbelievable.
That-
I mean, that in Haley Center is, but it was 2010 when we got these.
Yep, those were the ones that didn't have any graphics in the alcove. It just had the raised plastic.
Yep. So,
Anything else I can help you with?
yeah, I mean, you got the guy here.
Yeah, light bill do.
You said you were redesigning some of the stuff on the LK wall. Is the location of the water filter going to be one of them?
Not in the immediate future. There's not a whole lot of places that filter can go. When you look at our products, you look at everybody else's products. They've all basically got the same shape, and the reason why is this whole package dimension here is defined by ADA.
What's up there to the right?
They ever consider putting a swinging door,
Did Haley get that shit on there?
like a swinging door from here?
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. We're working on it. We're working on it.
What channel?
See Haley when you go to the office.
Now, that'll work. I buy a swinging door.
Or another
Make
hole
that
in the
better.
bottom of it, you can just reach up to the bottom.
We thought about that when these are in the low units. You've got about this much room down here. It's really tough to snake that filter in there and get it in, and you can't see what you're doing. These aren't. This isn't ideal because you're going in from the side, so you still kind of really can't see what you're doing unless you look over to the side. If you're in an alcove, it's going to make it a lot tougher, and it's a lot easier, especially with the bigger filters, if you can go at it from the front and the side. So as we start to develop this, we're going to come out with better access to this location for the filter until we can get the filter somewhere else.
Will y'all take my design?
Well, you're going to take credit for the design that we're already working on?
And pay. And pay, sir.
a lot more easy, it's a lot more easier though. And if you wanna do it by saving time, you said 3 minutes to do it like that on the side, but you can do it up on the bottom less than a minute and a half. You ain't got to take the screws there now, you change the filter out.
Yep.
Just like that button you got on the top, that reset in your top,
But
you put the
truly,
filter in your top.
they're trying to sell everything at the warehouse before they bring out that new design.
So the problem is putting the filter up on top is with these current towers, there's no room.
Redesign. That's why y'all, hey,
We're working on it.
big bucks for this.
We're working on it.
Y'all wanna go ahead and draw a pattern up?
Yeah, Alexis puts theirs on the top.
That's a nasty word, don't say that word.
Feeling that hard.
Oh, yeah, now I know,
But
but
the
I
other one, we
mean,
went and put on, we got,
200,
every building, no, more than that, every building.
more than that?
Yeah.
Bottom part,
We got about, I forget on the camera, something about maybe.
What would you think if we could connect these things and let you know when the filter needs changed?
We already got
When
some,
should-
we already got somebody to connect, it was college students.
Yeah, but this way you know it before the phone rings.
They let the college students call and work for you.
You're connected to
So
the
once they
professor
go-
that sees that red light.
And once it go yellow, you get all kinds of work.
Oh, I can imagine.
Right, so it should just be one light, two lights, a green and a red.
Yeah.
When they see yellow, woo, we get tons of work order. And actually, you can wait until it's red. Is that true? But see, we need to get rid of that yellow light. It's still on the street light, but other than that, they see yellow, they go crazy.
Yeah, well,
Something about making these, I guess, Wi-Fi accessible?
I'm sorry, doing what?
You're talking about making these Wi-Fi accessible. I guess, kind of like some of the other manufacturers out there that have.
I mean, we can connect our flush valves now and backflow preventers and all that, but this would be something we're considering down the road.
Now, the flush
And we
valve,
think
I
it
like,
might be the best thing to connect, really.
the flush valve I like connecting to, but water cooler, it's okay.
Well,
When you got a toilet hung up and constantly flushing, that'd be great to have.
we even have them to go in the drains, don't we?
Not the last I knew, they were still working on it.
We were looking at that. Yeah, where your bathroom flooded and we could tell you that bathroom's flooded.
Yeah, or that, pour it flood, like that toilet's constantly flushing, so we can catch it before it.
The backflow preventer's good. When you have a relief valve dumping, it wouldn't tell you, hey, this thing's discharging.
And, especially when they're in the ground, they're above ground, you know, we can just.
Well, I'm talking about
walk over
RPs,
it.
yeah, above
But you
ground.
know, if you got a good sandy ground, if it's in the ground, it's gonna filter itself and you'll never see it until somebody walk over there.
Well, that's things we're thinking, I just wanted to know. The accessibility to the filter and
Yeah,
connecting.
that's a whole lot better than pulling that back out, it is hard to kind of line something.
And Lewis can take orders right now for these, right? Kids?
Now, Ed, what about using, you said that there's a 12-inch filter that y'all discontinued, correct?
yep.
And then you're using the 9.5 filter. Does it have to be that thick filter, that diameter filter? Could it be a
The
smaller?
diameters are always all the same, yeah.
No, I meant like, could it be a smaller diameter filter?
If you go smaller in diameter, your capacity goes way down. That's why when you look at that Murdoch one that they stick up in here, it's a little teeny guy, and it's half the capacity of what their other filter is.
So the 9.5 and the 12
Yeah.
is the same capacity.
Yeah,
And that's 3,000. What's the capacity of that filter?
3,000. And there's an optional
8-ounce bottles, 4-ounce bottles, 6 ounce.
No, that's 3,000 gallons.
3,000 gallons, and there is an optional 6,000 gallon one you can use if you've got a lot of traffic through some places. So like that one that you were talking about that gets it rung up all the time?
Haley Center, Student Center, vet school. We got several, we keep moving, so them the ones that are high traffic.
And that's some of your oldest units.
And that 6,000 gallon filter, when you put it in, if you put it into the P, it'll automatically read that it's a 6,000 gallon filter, and it knows how to keep track. How to keep track.
On the count, the reset filters, is it only done by counts, or is it done by count and time as well?
Both of them are counting time. So it's,
I don't have one that uses but 200 bottles, and it's a year, it's gonna tell me to change that filter.
yes, it is. And
That
that-
happened to me last week.
yep, and there's a reason for that. That's because we don't want that sitting there for too long and building up a biofilm, because nasty stuff starts to grow in there after a while. So you want to switch out that filter.
That counter, the counter on the filter, I mean, the, unit,
Yep,
it counts every how many ounces? 8?
20. Every bottle counted is 20 ounces.
I thought,
Also, we
I
got,
thought it counted like 8.
one we had wasn't 8 ounce, but on 20 ounce.
The only exception of that is the live, if you've got any of those, and I think, don't have any? That one for some reason they did at 16.9 ounces. But for all of these commercial ones, it's all 20 ounces.
The newer one you talking about.
The one with the glass front, that one does 16.9 bottles.
Okay, so the first one is 20.
These commercial ones like this, it's all 20 ounce bottles.
Cause we can put a cup on there, we can put like a 12 ounce cup, and that bottle count will change.
Well, it might, depending on where you were at from the last fill. Yeah.
So if you put a 12 ounce cup on it,
Right.
then you go put another 12 ounce cup, you might see that number.
It could be 4 ounces
Going,
on,
so.
And it's not perfect.
When I reset,
It's estimating based on your pressure and flow rate, because it's done by time. There isn't a flow meter in there. So if your pressure's low, or if you've got calcium buildup in there, so it's coming out slow, then it's going to turn off before you get that full 20 ounces.
When you turn on the bubbler, does the counter go?
Not anymore.
Used to, didn't it?
Used to.
Did y'all realize that? If somebody uses the bubbler, it doesn't count now. If somebody just gets out of the bubbler the old-fashioned one, it doesn't flip the counter. We're used to.
Gotcha. You're getting out the bubble instead of out of the eye.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Which is really what it should do.
What we found was once everybody started using the bottle fillers, very few people use the bubblers anyway. So the volume coming out of the bubbler, since it's coming out slower anyway, it's not worth tracking.
And do you think that the code officials or LK will go to the codes and try to see if we can eliminate bubblers?
We did.
And we got turned down?
Yep. So the cycle is every 4 years for the plumbing code. When it went up for review the last time, which was for last year, 2022 was the last revision, right? So in 2021, when they were reviewing that, we actually proposed wording to allow bottle fillers to replace some or all bubblers, and the code officials unilaterally, everybody said no. And part of it, I mean, it makes sense. So, you know, when you look at it from an ADA perspective, there are people out there that can't grasp stuff.
That's right.
Right? And then when you look at it also from a socioeconomic thing, you know, there's kids out there that can't afford bottle fillers. I mean, bottles. So it doesn't, it's a little cruel to take away the bubbler. You need to make water available to everybody.